So I'll get started. Hopefully more people are going to come in, but I'm glad, Jay, I'm glad that you can hear me. So we're going to talk about zero trust on a pretty open level. Myself, I am a veteran. I served in the Army for about 9 years, 8 years, and a couple months. And it really got my passion into cybersecurity. That I was a signal person in the Army, and it was my niche on really how I wanted to go within my life, and it's very, very exciting. So I'm excited to bring that to you guys. I hope that this could be a as well as it is for me. So let's get diving into this. So meshing up with zero trust. All right, we're going to go over some of the zero trust fundamentals, threats, things that are changing our landscape currently, introduction into cybersecurity mesh itself, and then things that I feel are how cyber mesh could benefit us as a whole in security. So zero trust fundamentals, right? Like what is zero trust? Okay. Zero trust, there's key components. Some people they're still it's not just a philosophy, like a philosophy. There's actually things that have to be done in order for it to work. And so we'll go over some of those fundamentals of what it actually is. Okay. So zero trust, the two main principles of zero trust is verify and validate everything, trust nothing, right? Within a zero trust architecture, you're wanting to know who is communicating to who, how is that, why is that. I don't trust anything within my network. I don't trust anything outside of my network. I only care about I only care about everything that is coming in that it is verified and validated that it can be in this area. All right, the 7 pillars. There are 7 pillars of zero trust. These are the ones that these are the 7 pillars of how to implement zero trust and what zero trust is. I'm not going to go in depth into all of these. The ones that I'm going to go over are users, devices, network and environment, and data. Those are the ones that are really the bread and butter of what makes zero trust work. The other ones are very much as important, but these are the ones that I feel are what really makes zero trust zero trust. So for the user, right? What is a user? A user could be a customer. A user could be an internal worker. A user is somebody that's accessing the internet. And how do they access that internet? What are ways that they get into our networks? Right? It's single sign-on, and what single sign-on is I know who you are and I know which device you're logging in on, right? And there's organizations and things that like Okta that offer that. Those are the type of solutions that are out there. Okta is a great single sign-on. It's one of the leaders. I don't have any affiliation with any of these organizations. I'm just putting them out there. Also, multi-factor authentication, right? So we all probably already do this with our phones or with our email accounts or with everything that we're using in today's world. This is growing. This multi-factor authentication is going to be one of the basic foundations moving forward within a zero trust. And who else does that is Duo. They they implement these types of, and Okta and Duo are very similar, but they also handle things a little differently. Is there any questions on that? Oh, okay. Next, we'll get into is authentic includes as well. Is auth? Shaquille, are you meaning authenticate? Yeah. So authenticating is included with that multi-factor authentication. That is correct. It's that authorization could be incorporated within that, or you could there's other ways that you could use that. So within a global architecture. But yeah. Next, the next component is devices, right? And this is the landscape that I think has absolutely exploded in the last decade or so. The devices landscape has grown so much, from bring your own devices, my personal phone, personal laptop, right? Everybody now is being able to work from home. So having these devices that we can access our work environment on top of doing personal things with it's a scary thing. I know for one, I start to get so sucked into work, even if I do have it on my phone, that I'm constantly working, and there are times I need to put down my phone and just walk away because I'm so that work-life balance, right? And being burnt out. So that's on a personal level, and me as a user, right? Because I am the user within the organization as well. So how all of that gets incorporated is really zero trust. Knowing who your user are, knowing what your device is, what are their habits, what are they doing. Right. So it's your laptops, your phones, your normal devices that you use and you access. And then this other element of IoT, that could be my smartwatch, that could be my TV, my Alexa, different sensors within corporations, CCTV cameras, right? That's all included in now to this Internet of Things. But what is that currently doing within our architecture, or within our culture and our world? It's expanding the amount of devices that people are going to be able to access and get into and try to manipulate and do things. So this area alone, I think, is one of the biggest pillars of knowing what is within your network and outside of your network, knowing who's accessing it, what devices are accessing it, and being able to analyze that data that is gathered at that device level. Next, we got the network and the environment, right? So if we're finding things out at the device level, what does that do for our infrastructure, whether that's on premises, or if that's in the cloud? What does that really do to the network and the environment? Is it going to be slower? Is there going to be lags? Whether is it going to drop? Well, what are some of these things? And the easiest way to analyze this and look at the network and the environment is to break it down into segments, smaller parts that are going to be more manageable for people to analyze, manage, and handle, right? And that involves network segmentation. which is known as your north-south traffic. The traffic moving through. Here's an example that I did to show what that north-south traffic can look like. Right, and then we can even get granular and do microsegmentation, which is going from east to west. That's known as the east-west traffic, and how that can look is something similar like this. It's where every single endpoint and user device, whatever, has its own little defense. And so it's microsegmentation. You're isolating things, and you can do that into certain groups, which and it really depends on how large of an infrastructure we're talking about. And this alone can be a very difficult process. And people need to start, in my opinion, that the 6 months of let's put a Band-Aid on it and fix this. It's not going to work. We need real funding for security, because there's a lot going on, and it's not going away. And we're at this stage right now where the pipelines are being affected. There's critical infrastructure that we have in the United States that needs to be secured. And there's definitely ways out there that we can do this. In my opinion, zero trust is the future. I agree with Gardner with this on a lot of these their topics here. Right, and the most critical pillar of what we all want to protect is the data. Right, we want to make sure that this data is encrypted at rest, and as it moves throughout the network or goes wherever it needs to. It has to be secured. Personal identifying data, there's new policies coming out, and January is coming, where for businesses, customer data, it's a big deal right now. And having to secure that, and giving people access to that, and allowing customers to want to participate or not want to participate in those things is going to be huge. Again, these are just organizations that help with some of these things that can do this. There's the data loss prevention aspect as well, which is preventing leaks. Think of I always like to think of data as a pillow. And it's my pillow, but I'm never going to sleep just on my pillow, right? I'm going to have a pillowcase. That's the data loss prevention. I'm going to put a pillowcase right over that, and make sure that it's nice and right. That's just the way that I interpret it to make it easy for me to understand. Any questions? Oh. Okay. So there are phases of zero trust, right? There's 4 of them. The users and availability is typically designed for phase 1. For a organization that is thinking of implementing this type of architecture. The user and availability portion is going to take time. It's not a quick snap of the finger and boom, you have it. It's really getting a true understanding of who are my users, what are those visibilities, and they call that your protect surface. But it's really understanding who your individuals are and what assets do they need to access. So that's kind of like your identity and access management aspect. And who are these individuals? What do they have access to? What can we do? We can look at that as, if we're all vets, right? So look at it as your platoon and your platoon, like your platoon sergeant. Whenever you were coming up, did your platoon sergeant really want to get to know you and know every single user that was within his platoon? Mine did. So they got to know me quite well, and that's kind of how this is within the architecture. We want our analysts and our security personnel to get a deep dive into the user base and what they're supposed to have access to. Then there are the devices, the network, and the environment, right? So we now understand our users. We know what our users are supposed to be doing. We know that. So now we need to make sure, do they have the right equipment, right? So we want to make sure that our users, our endpoints, our devices are secured. They're hardened. They're built to not allow too much access in, just enough to do their job, right? This is where the multi-factor authentications would come in, where you're gonna say, I need to know the device you're on. I need to know who's supposed to access this. This is your security policies within the organization. What's the environment of policies that must be conducted? Is there any questions about devices, networks, and environments? And you got your applications, your pipelines, and your workloads, right? This is when your vulnerabilities are going to come in. You're making sure what applications are going to handle what, or what's who's responsible for what. What risk level does these individuals have, or do these devices and assets have, right? Is my environment multi-networked to where which networks are the most important, the most valuable? Is that device endpoint policy something you see as being compatible with BYOD? With BYOD, do I see the devices endpoints policy something you see as being compatible? I do. Let's say, let's think of this as a customer base, right? Do I want my customers to be able to access my site, but also have vulnerabilities on it, or my internal worker? Do I want them to, so I have an employee, do I want them to be able to access everything? No, I want them to recognize this device. So yeah, I do see that being compatible with that. I don't know about the security policies aspects of it. Yes. Correct, Curtis. Yes, absolutely. So again, and then the last one is your data and automation and compliance, right? And that's always going to evolve. That's always going to change. That's always going to be moving. You definitely want to try for some of the things is to get end-to-end automation. Let machines do what they need to do, and try to take out as much manual stuff on it, because currently, right, there's a huge opening for cybersecurity positions, right? It's the but also with that, everybody wants, somebody with so much experience. But there's cybersecurity is such a huge field to be able to get into right now, and being able to do it's incredible where we're going, and it's going to be very interesting in the future. I see this exploding into crazy amounts of job opportunities and long term. But end-to-end automation, you still want to make the system be able to do it, right? Take out human error, remove that, get rid of it. Let things look for certain things and do what they have to do. Also making sure that data stays safe, right? Again, it's with that whole transit and storing it in a safe container. Maybe that's a vault, maybe that's a data lake, a storage blob, however, but making sure that location is totally locked down and taken care of. Okay. So how does that how is that being implemented, right? So let's go and talk about how is it zero trust really implemented from a, I'm going to a building, right? Most of zero trust is talking about it depends on the organization, whether it's on-prem or in the cloud, hybrid. Most organizations are hybrid. But I've run into quite a few that are pushing to try and go strictly cloud, right? I'm sure some people might know some businesses that are trying to push fully cloud just for costs and things like that. But it all starts with your physical perimeter. That's we all we're in, right? Think of any military base, right? Your physical perimeter around that base. Then it goes into the cloud security of and WAF is the the cloud's firewalls and things like that. And as it goes down the line, it gets more granular all the way down to data, right? It's all moving into that realm of all down to the final aspect. And this is an example of how it is currently being implemented. This is an example for Microsoft 365. I'm really fascinated about zero trust because it's also incorporating AI and machine learning on to help security to help us find anomalies within a network and give certain things an actual risk score so that we can go to stakeholders of organizations and be like, hey, look, this is a huge risk and we need to get this taken care of. Or I'm seeing this and it's all real live events. But the nice thing is that if you can incorporate that with machine learning, the machine learning is the ones that's staying up 24/7, 365. That's the one that's actually finding the anomalies or the discrepancies within the network. So now let's talk about the threats and the landscape of how we got to this point of zero trust and how we've gotten to where we're at today in the world once computers really started coming a thing, right? So the rise of mobility, I mean, back in the day, there were the Trojans and the malicious code and that stuff, and that stuff is bad. But looking back on it, that stuff is nothing what's going on now, and it's because the devices, right? The more devices that we're able to put out onto the internet is giving more bad actors a chance to get in or disrupt what our work or taking our access, doing something that we don't want, right? And now they're also able to another perfect example is, again, I have my access to my work and stuff on my phone. I get phishing attacks, right? You could get a phishing attack of somebody sending you an email, perpetrating somebody within your organization, saying, "Hey, look, I need you to give me your password, right? We need to check something out, so please send it." And people do. um, so once that gets sent, boom, you're allowing somebody in, and once somebody gets in, it it it's why we have a career. And I think this is always going to be something that is going to be taking place. This zero trust is not a fix all. In my opinion, it is an architecture that is constantly growing and adapting, because us within cybersecurity, our adversaries are also getting as sophisticated with their attacks and trying to get into our networks. It's really going to have to continue to grow and adapt, and I see it having to do that in the same trajectory as our attacks are coming in. Um, no longer can we be on a reactive side, right? And that's what really traditional security was. It was all secondary reaction. Um, Zero trust is now also being able to sure, it could be a little reactive, but it's reactive in live time, and it can help us with advancing. Right, it just came out in August. I don't know if anybody else is a super nerd like me, where I have to dive in and read about cybercrime and what's really going on. But currently, you know, cyber criminals, if they were their own economy, they would right now be the third largest economy in the world, and that's the world, that's globally. So this isn't just a issue here. This is an issue absolutely worldwide, in every country, in every spot on the planet. Cybercrime is going to be a thing. So I super encourage anybody that's here, that is not as as knowledgeable within IT. Start now. It's always evolving. Get a good foundation. Pick up anything that's currently on, and continue to build that. One thing that I always did, so I was a signal guy, um, and my time as a single person, I got thrown into where I was the only single person, a signal person within my unit, and that was directly coming out of AIT. So if I didn't know something, I had to go and figure it out, right? And that's one thing that us as vets, that's one thing that we do. It's like, hey, figure this out, all right? We're problem solvers. We fix things. We do those type of stuff. And that's what we need now is within cybercrime. We need those people that, like, hey, we need to figure this out and do it, and save businesses, save organizations, because if organizations can't protect their assets, they're not going to be around, right? So how can we save those assets? How can we save those businesses, right? And I think cybersecurity mesh, and zero trust work hand in hand. I think that these two things, you can kind of, we could go back to a analogy of like being tucked in, right? These things can overlap each other and really help organizations be more secure than how they currently are. Because right into today's world, typically how security is, right, is we have our users, we have our individuals, we have our building locations of where we're working out of. We have our laptops, our phones, our cameras, you name it, right? IoT devices, right? But there's only one security perimeter, or there's one fence, right? And it's supposed to that one fence is supposed to keep all these things safe, right? But it's not really how it works, right? Um, you're gonna take special care of yourself differently than you're gonna bathe every day compared to you're not gonna go out and wash your house every day, right? So you're the traditional way really doesn't work in a cyber sense. It just doesn't. So a cybersecurity mesh way is, instead of having one perimeter, you have a perimeter around each individual endpoint asset, right? Think of it as again that pillowcase going over that pillow, right? You don't want to grab a full body pillowcase and put it over a normal sized pillow. Then you'll have a whole bunch hanging out, and no, you don't want that. So you want to get the right pillowcase for the right pillow, right? So you want everything to be down. And the fascinating thing about that is now that's going to help create a visibility perspective for the analysts and for the machine learning to pick up on these normalcies or their behaviors, to be able to depict if this is looking like something's fishy, something's not right here, right? So, and what do I mean by secure, like its own security for each device, right? Let's think of a cell phone, right? I have the iPhone 13. I used to have like the iPhone 8 or whatever. And one thing that I noticed when I first got this phone is they took away that little round circle at the bottom of the phone for your thumbprint, right? So my phone, the only ways I could get into my phone or access my phone is either through a passcode or facial by it scans your face. So those are the only two ways for my phone. Some phones are different, like I said. So every device is different. So what security measure is actually going to work best for what device, right? Let's think of laptops, right? Some laptops do use the camera for facial recognition to get you in. Other ones, username and password, right? That's basic. That's the old way. That's how you get into devices, right? Other ones, they also have the little square that you can do your finger scan on. Those, so which does an organization want to allow and not allow, right? So now that's also based on those policies that organizations can now start to gather. They could determine, hey, oh, this device, right? If this device joins the network, has access, that device, based on our security measures, boom, we need a passcode, or we need the facial recognition image. If it's a laptop, they can do a passcode, right? Those policies then can be implemented all the way down to this. So those policies and those devices, right? So the policies were from a zero trust, whereas all the way down now to the nitty gritty for every device or user, there is its own security measure, right? And that's the cyber mesh component. Does anybody have any questions about that? So moving on to the future, Gardner just came out, and last year by 2024, organizations adopting a cybersecurity mesh architecture to integrate security tools to work as a collaborative ecosystem will reduce the financial impact of individual security incidents by an average of 90%. I think they're being modest. I think if organizations uh, can, in fact, implement a cybersecurity mesh, um, and even add that with zero trust, it's not going to be 90%. It will be a lot higher because, you know, for a business or an organization, right? Let's think of it in another context. I'm a business and organization. I have salary employees, but I also have hourly employees, right? What if I only want those hourly employees to only work 40 hours a week? I can give them that access for only 40 hours. I could somehow make sure within this that their timesheets, once they hit 40 hours, boom, they they lose all their access. That's a way for organizations could save money. But their salary employees, you could give them access all day and allow them to to do their work because their salary. You can work them over the 40 hours, but not have to pay them as much. Um, there's other avenues and business benefits to shifting this way that we still have not seen yet. So I really think that the cybersecurity mesh with zero trust could make a huge impact for the future. Do I have any questions? I think we only have about 7 minutes left. Well, I really appreciate everybody's time. Thank you so much for everything that you all do and have done. Um, it, Curtis, no problem, no problem. If I'm on LinkedIn. If anybody would like to continue this chat offline and to connect and grow, please. I know that this event is for any veteran that's looking to get into the IT field. If I can help you out in any way, please reach out to me. Let's talk. I would love to be able to help anybody that's looking for anything in any way. It might not be with my organization, but whatever. If that's being helpful with understanding the vet benefits and what that stuff can do for you and what you have going on, I'd be more than happy to help all of you. Again, thank you so much for coming and spending. If you're here on the East Coast with me, spending your Friday afternoon, again, thanks. And we have 5 minutes, so I'll stay. But if anybody has any questions, please feel free to ask.